Hi, it's Joy Foster, founder of Tech Fixies, and you are listening to the Sparkle and Thrive podcast. And I'm very excited about our guest today. We listen to you. You know, if you email us and you say, I want to hear this on the podcast, or if you're one of our students and you want to know something more about something, just tell us, because we go and find the amazing speakers and connectors and people who are doing the thing that you would love to do. So today our guest is Rebecca Newenham. Sorry, Rebecca.
Teeth around that. Yeah.
Rebecca Newenham, and she runs a virtual assistant agency, and we're going to talk about what that is and get into a lot more detail about that. We have a lot of graduates of our program who go out and become social media managers, and then they think, gosh, I want to hire a team underneath me and I want to build that out. Well, we're going to talk about a franchise model, which is what Rebecca set up and how that's working for her. And I think you're in for a treat. Rebecca's been running her business for 12 years, and there are major milestones in business, and one of them is the 10-year mark. So well past that is a wonderful thing. So Rebecca, welcome to the show. Thank you for being one of our guests, and I just cannot wait to get into this conversation with you.
Oh, I'm thrilled to be here, Joy. Thank you.
So we actually met at Flexpo. And one of the things that stood out to me is you get branding, like you really get it. And you've got this bold orange color. It's behind you. You've got your logo there, and you've got this cutout of yourself, which I absolutely love.
Yeah, I wish I looked like her.
You do. Well, you look more fabulous than she does. And so but I remember when I met you, one of the things I loved about your cutout was you had a stand at Flexpo, and then when you were off walking around, your cutout was right there, you know, so people could identify you, and you were wearing the same outfit that the cutout was wearing, and so people could identify you. You just really get brand, and that was so impressive. You know, of all the people I met that day, I don't remember any of them, but I remember you. So you're a very memorable person. Let's talk about your story. You know, you now run a very big business, but when you started out, that wasn't what it was like. Tell us about your story. How did you get started?
No, of course. So I had a corporate retail buying background, Joy. So I did a business studies degree, did a few jobs, and then landed my dream job, which was working for Superdrug, doing retail buying. So buying cosmetics, doing own labels, so going to Paris, finding fabrics that we really liked, making them into makeup bags. You know, it was the dream job all those years ago. Then I worked for Sainsbury's, which was a slightly different proposition, a little bit more formal. I was doing feminine hygiene and baby stuff, and yeah, it was just really fascinating. But the core bit for me was the importance of branding and understanding what your customer wants, and therefore interpreting that in different ways. So I had an 8-year career break when I had our 3 girls, and during that did various sort of voluntary bits, did a counselling diploma, just looked at different things I wanted to do, but I was always drawn to doing something for myself. And my mum had run, when I was growing up, a tutorial agency from home. She had got a hilarious picture of her with a whopping answer phone, and she achieved that balance and flexibility for my brother and I by running something from home. So she's always been really inspiring for me. And she said to me, you'll find your thing. Because I used to look at my friends, as, you know, our fellow parents going off doing a job and thinking, well, I don't know quite what I want to do, but I know I've got something in me to do something for myself. So did a lot of research. Virtual assistants has been very strong in the States. They're probably 10 years ahead of us. And I thought, yeah, there's something here. And then I did a one-day training course, realized that I could make it very much what I wanted it to be. So I was brave and just thought, right, I'm going to go for this. So my husband and I did a lot of brainstorming around a business name. And that's something I always say when I'm talking about this. Naming your business is quite important. And like you proved earlier, my surname is an absolute mouthful. You know, no one was going to be able to spell my name if I based the business around that. But equally, I knew from a very early stage, I didn't want to be just me in this business journey. So we all see, don't we, lots of people that have a name built around their surname, absolutely fine. But you can personalize it as much or as little as you want to, but it's something to really consider at the beginning. Obviously, you can change things, but it does complicate it, especially if you're having a website based around it. So that would be my first sort of tip of the day, is think clearly about what your business name represents. So would you agree with me?
Yeah, and I was just going to add to that. I think that's a great first question to ask yourself when you're starting a business. And we've got a Start a Business Festival coming up, and we'll be talking about all of this stuff. But one of the great first questions to ask yourself is, do I want this to be about me, or do I want to build out a team? Do I want it to be bigger than me? And if there's a part of you that says, I want it to be bigger than me, then I do think it's important not to make the business be built around your name. I definitely built Tech Pixies with the sense that I was going to build a team. It wasn't going to be just me, that I was going to have other coaches involved in the program. And we have done that, but I think even if you don't know exactly what you're going to do with your business, having that fundamental question answered, do I want it to be just me, or do I want it to be bigger than me, is a really great starting point in terms of name and brand, for sure.
Yes, and for it to mean something. So for me, Get Ahead was helping clients get ahead and develop, and we were Get Ahead your virtual assistant, and actually that's still what it says here, but we are now your virtual agency, because I felt that the strapline could lead to different things. So it was definitely worth the sort of the hours that Martin and I spent sort of working it out.
Oh, I like that. Virtual agency. Yeah, that's that. And
that's our tagline.
Do that's why we're not social pixies or social media pixies or marketing pixies, because I always thought we would expand beyond social media and go into all areas of tech and helping women upskill in the various areas of tech. And it's still in the plan. It's not like
exactly.
It just, I didn't realize how long it was going to take to get social media sorted. Social media is such a big,
it's a beast. Yes, exactly.
It's a beast.
Yeah.
It took us 7 years to figure that one out. So you knew early on that you wanted this to be bigger than you.
Yes.
And I love what you said too. There's about 3 things you said, which are like, for me in the Tech Pixies world, tick, tick, tick. One, you upskilled, you took a course, and that helped you decide, yes, this is the path I want to go down. Right. So that's a tick for me. In fact, I was on a call yesterday with someone who said, what are some of the traits of your best students? And I said, they're the ones that want coaching. They're the ones that want support. They're the ones that don't think they can do it all by themselves, because we can't do everything all by ourselves. And we shouldn't. We're not meant to do it. Desmond Tutu is a hero of mine. He uses when he was alive, he spoke a lot about the word Ubuntu, which is people are people because of other people. So, when you realize that we are meant to be in communion with others, and we are meant to be doing things with others, and that we're not meant to be journeying this world alone, that it's a much better experience when we lean into that. So that was the first thing you said. The second thing you said was that you were brave. And we believe at Tech Pixies, be brave and sparkle.
Oh,
right?
yes.
You've got to be brave. And so when you are thinking, do I want this to be just about me, or do I want this to be beyond me? Do I want to set up something myself? It is a risk, but being brave is really, really important. And then that third question of, how do I want it to be about me or something bigger? Those are all really important things. But I love that you invested in coaching and training to make the decision, and that you then leaned into it and then put a plan together, because this is another thing people don't understand, the importance of a plan. Now, did you have the franchise model as your plan from day one, or did that evolve?
No, that evolved. So I knew I wanted to be bigger than me. I wanted to play to my strengths always. So I've always been naturally very of the mindset of, well, I can't do everything. And, the thought of doing an Excel spreadsheet filled me with horror. So immediately I found people to do those. So that's been my mindset from the beginning, in the sense of how I can, and then the scaling piece, I knew that there were so many opportunities to meet business owners that we support around the country, and we'd grown organically, but it was then like, how am I going to get to these people? And we did try it where I paid for somebody in Bristol to go networking and be us, but I was paying for her time. And that was a sort of little trial. So that was a sort of a tentative way about it. But I'd always been a little bit put off with franchising. And I now speak a lot about demystifying franchising, because it's not about the greedy franchise owner that takes the cash and you never see from them again. It's totally different from that. But I then discovered that franchising would be the vehicle to enable me to scale it.
Let's talk about franchising and demystifying it a little bit, because there's sort of 2 models. One is that, and the agency model, which I suppose is probably more of what I was doing before I set up Tech Pixies. So we had employees, and what would happen is that we would have a contract with either, to build a website or to do the social media for a company. And then I would the employees would do the work, and then I would get the money from the company, and then I would pay the employees. And I mean, that worked for the most part, but you have to get your pricing right, so that you make sure that you have a margin in there to grow your business and also fund yourself, even if you're not doing the work, but you're the one coordinating all the contracts, etc. But also I found it tricky when, let's say, to get a job done, employees had to do more work than was expected. And then I was out because I had to pay them for their time, but the company had a contract that, that wasn't flexible for covering more hours. And I had to renegotiate contracts all the time to get because the amount of work that was required was more than it was social media. And sometimes things take a lot
Very
longer
tricky.
than you think.
Yeah.
And so I got to a point where I was like, I just can't do the agency model anymore. And I closed up shop. I sold the website business to one of my employees, who then went on and took it on from there. And then with the social media clients, I just moved. Everyone who was already contracted, I just moved them directly into the
Yeah, that makes sense.
and then then moved on to social media training, because that was my bread and butter. But I explored the franchise model for Tech Pixies a long time ago, when I was thinking we were running it in person, 12 weeks in person.
Yeah.
And then we went virtual. So I didn't really need to explore the franchise model, but we're revisiting it now for expanding into other countries.
Yes.
So that's something I'm really interested in. So let's demystify franchising and talk to me about how it works, what the structure of it is, why you chose that model versus, let's say, the agency model.
Yeah. So I guess our sort of individual franchises work on an agency model. So like that, we use freelancers as opposed to employing people. But for me, it was, how can I get that consistency of brand and keep an element of control? So that's where the franchising bit came on board. And I realized that I had to be very clear on the profile of the person I wanted to manage that franchise. And I also had to spend a lot of time working out our processes and documenting it all, but it was an amazing process to go through. And now we've got the all singing, all dancing sort of Bible of how things work. But the big thing is it's continually evolving, Joy. And I think that is the problem. Sometimes people have thought they'd buy a franchise and it's static, and that's when things can go wrong, because it's not continually being pumped and evolved. So if I look at the way we work, and something we've developed in the last year is an all singing, all dancing monthly marketing plan, for example. So my franchisees get a personalized plan that's got a theme, it's got infographic, it's got the blogs for the month, and we're really clear, so they don't even have to think about it. And I think that's the big thing with franchising. When it works well, the franchisee can go and do what they do best, which in our case is networking, finding clients, and they've got all the infrastructure behind them to manage everything else, because we all know we can't be good at everything. And I think that's the danger, isn't it? And that's why, if you're looking at franchising, you've got to have a confidence that you can handle the scale, and that fits with your skill set. Well, some people, and quite rightly, think, well, actually, I don't want to grow any more than my hours I'm doing currently. I don't want to have to manage people. I'd much rather just be looking after myself. So it's an interesting dilemma, isn't it? Something you have to be quite honest with yourself about. But I knew that I wanted to outsource and get other people doing the work, and my joy and energy and skill set is in meeting new people and making things happen. So from very early on, that's what I identified.
And from a franchisee perspective, there's sort of like a initial payment to purchase the franchise. Yes. Either for an area or for a topic. So in your case, they're purchasing an area. Is that what? Yeah,
they're purchasing a personalized territory. Exactly that. Well, some franchises aren't territory based, which can be flexible to a degree, but then you could have a franchisee down the road doing the same thing. So it all depends on the type of business. But for ours, it was essential that it was postcoded and large and juicy area that people can operate in, based around where they live. And we use some really sophisticated software mapping for that.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Then in terms of when they actually are up and running, do they just pay a fee to stay?
Yes, so ours is a 10% monthly fee based on turnover, and then a 1% marketing fee after their first year. So it builds. And I would say, I think my franchisees were saying, I'm certainly not disappearing. I'm very much behind them. Monthly one-to-ones, we have a call every month, very much like you guys, with everyone together, and it's all about that energy, and that's where we get ideas from and boost each other up, and it's a huge community feeling. But you do hear of some franchises, like I said, that the cash gets paid and then no one's ever heard of it before, so it's an investment.
Well, I looked years and years ago when I was first getting started in business. One of the advantages of buying a franchise is you're getting a business in a box, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so you don't have to, like, I look at how long it's taken us to get a lot of things sorted. And then even once you think it's sorted,
Yes.
you're like, oh, that didn't get the way I
Yeah.
wanted it to go. And that's just entrepreneur life, right? But I was reflecting on this the other day. 7 years it's taken us to get the curriculum set, to figure out where the pain points are, to solve those pain points. So what you're buying when you buy a franchise is that pain has been lived out.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
so you're getting all the tools that you can run with without having had to have gone through the pain. And I think, and that's a wonderful thing when you're just getting started. In fact, one of the things and it wasn't a franchise, but it was a program that I purchased that then we could effectively white label and put into Tech Pixies as a second program. And that's been extremely successful. And one of the things was the speed at which I could get it up and running. Within 17 days, I was fully trained on how to use it. I had to do an extra 24-hour training over 3 days to solidify that training, in addition to the 50 hours I had to do online. So you think 75 hours online to sort of get myself up to speed with the curriculum and understanding it. But I had all of the tools, from effectively the lead magnet to the sales calls to the actual program itself was fully scripted for 12 weeks and everything. And we ran it, and it was so easy. And so I think there is huge, when you've got the opportunity to buy into something that's already been designed and developed for you, it's a major advantage. And for us, it was genius, because almost every single person who joined that program was already a student who was familiar with us, and they just wanted to do more with us. And that was, for us, that was a real blessing. So I think there's huge advantages, even though there might be an investment up front, or there might be an ongoing investment. There's huge advantages to tapping into something that's tried, tested, and proven.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, we laugh and say, if we spread our franchise fee out over the 5 years, it's the price of a coffee a day. It's £4 or something.
Yeah.
And when you think about what it's like, and the guys on the call that have had to set something up from scratch themselves, it's the website, it's the branding, it's the it goes on and on and on, does it, before you've even opened the door to sort of start working.
Well, let's talk about something that we sort of had a pre-chat, and we were talking about celebrating milestones.
Yes.
And you have such great energy, and every time I'm with you, I always walk away feeling like I've had an increase in my life.
Oh.
But you believe very strongly, as we do at Tech Pixies, in celebrating along the way. And what I always say is, if you wait to celebrate until you reach the big milestone, you'll never reach the big milestone, because it's the celebration along the way that trains your brain to say, I'm succeeding, I'm succeeding, I'm succeeding.
Yeah.
So that when you hit the big milestone, it's like, well, of course I was going to get that. That was just part of the plan.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So why is it important to celebrate along the way for you? And what's it like to be at the 12-year mark for
So it's funny, isn't it? Because I think I've been brought up, as a young child, we had birthdays, we have birthday eve, we have the birthday, and I've been very much like that with the business. It's sort of like, yay, 6 months, a year, and it's, people love sharing in everyone else's joy, don't they? And I think that's been a big thing for me. So all the different individual birthdays I've celebrated, as the team's grown, it's been a natural opportunity to get us all together. And I've got this lovely picture, which I'll show you here, our 10th birthday one. And I had some of the franchisees with me, and we had a leopard print cake, and what the team designed a 10-year badge, and I was over it like a rash, because it's sort of like, this is what it's about, isn't it? And that's, if it comes naturally to you, and as I said, other people really want to sort of help celebrate with that. So our 12th one, I'm not quite sure what we're going to do, but we're definitely going to do something, and it'll probably involve a bit of orange and leopard print as well, of course. But I think it's just, people buy into that energy, don't they? And they want to celebrate. And I will celebrate franchisees' business birthdays as well. So our Surrey territory, they're going to be one in June. And actually, I saw them last night. I was saying, right, we need to plan this birthday, because people want to be part of it, don't they? And it's fun.
I love that. Well, and it's, you and I have been in business long enough to know that it doesn't always feel like a celebration. So you have to sort of I've got this notebook that every day I write down 3 accomplishments. Even on my hardest, worst days, I can try and find an accomplishment in it. What have been some of the 1 or 2 of the low points of setting up this business, and how did you overcome them?
I think sometimes it's been around people. So I'm very good at going with my gut instinct. And I think a couple of times I've been let down. And when I've looked back, I've realized, you know, deep down, I knew that there was something not quite right. So that's been a big learning for me. And actually, when we're bringing new freelancers into the team, you know, we have to go with that feeling as well, because we know that deep down that's going to be right. And I think I've had a couple of tricky clients along the way as well. And I find that hard when you can take it personally, and actually you do need to step back a bit. And your mention of coaching earlier, you know, I have had a coach, various coaches throughout my business journey, and I would say to anyone, you know, however much of an investment it feels like at the time, it is so worth it, because you need to have that ability to share things, don't you?
Yeah, you absolutely do. And I mean, I've always, well, I wouldn't say I've always had coaches, but I in the very beginning, when things were going really slowly, I didn't have coaches, because I kept thinking, well, I don't have the money for it. I don't have the money for it. Right. And actually, you know, what I've learned over the years is, if you say I can't afford that, if that's a common phrase in your vocabulary, you've got a money mindset issue, because actually, it's about, do I want to do this? If the answer is yes, then the next question is, okay, what am I going to do to make it happen? Right. And that's the thinking that needs to shift. And, you know, it's something you have to practice every single day, shifting the thoughts all the time towards what you know, the desired, wanted future, and towards, you know, the yes, you know, yes, and not no, but blah, blah, blah. Right. Yeah. And I think that's a real skill to learn how to do. So I love that you talked about that. Well, we've covered a lot in this.
Oh my God, I could talk to you for hours, Joy.
So if someone is interested in a business in a box and in working with you, or even if they just want to find out more about Get Ahead, where can they find you?
Oh yeah, so I'm all over LinkedIn. There's only one, there might be one other Rebecca Newenham. So LinkedIn is my go-to place. We're obviously on all the other social media platforms as well. And if you just put in getaheadva.com, it comes up with our core website and then the franchise opportunities on there. And I, as you know, I'm a huge connector and a lover of flexible working, so always up for any conversation, just to give people support as well, because I know it can be challenging, and I know there are so many decisions to make, and sometimes it can feel a little bit lonely and isolating. So always up for a coffee on Zoom. And I'm based in Surrey, so if anyone's in that area, always up for a face-to-face as well.
And I think we ought to do a little shout out to a tech pixie of our own.
You should, the gorgeous Vicky McKenna. Oh my gosh, I love Vicky, and if you hadn't encouraged her to come along to Flexpo, I'd never have met her, and she's a real joy to have as part of the team. She's amazing. And I've got 3 daughters who are obviously, you can imagine, quite picky about who I hang out with, but they absolutely adore Vicky, and yeah, it's great. So I can't thank you enough, Joy, for that connection. It's been amazing.
Well, you know, one of the things I love about the Tech Pixie community is the connections that happen. Yeah. And you know, I get messages all the time about Tech Pixies working with Tech Pixies, or, you know, opportunities we sent people towards people and they took them. I am now getting people who will email us and say, I only want to hire a Tech Pixie.
Yeah, no, it's that comfort and knowledge that, yeah, you've all got the same values, and that's a huge thing, isn't it? That we're all empowering and supportive. So yeah, so well done.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And I will love to catch up with you outside of the podcast. And thanks for being here today.
Oh, pleasure, Joy. Thanks for having me on.